Frontline World. Stories from a small planet.
We were driving north towards a city called Kaduna, on our way to find a Muslim woman at the center of a controversy. Amina Lawal has been sentenced to death by stoning for adultery. The trial of this woman has deepened the growing split in Nigeria between the Christian south and the Muslim north. Traffic suddenly ground to a halt.
What are they fighting about? Oh no.
People are afraid. People are afraid to go inside. Hello, bros. Are we safe? Huh?
Our driver, because he's from the east, doesn't really know what's going on. So I'm having to stop to ask other people whether it's safe to go through or not. What's with the leaves?
What leaf means peace?
We followed a procession of cars covered in leaves, all fleeing the city, heading further north. Fires burnt in the distance, but nobody stopped to find out why. Only later that night did we realize how bad the violence had been.
Rioting first broke out in Kaduna in northern Nigeria. After Friday prayers, Muslim youths armed with knives went on the rampage, setting fire to cars.
The riots were sparked by Nigeria's hosting of the Miss World beauty pageant. The contest was being held here because Miss Nigeria had won last year. But Muslims denounced the pageant as a parade of nudity. And then a Christian fashion writer said that the Prophet Muhammad would surely have picked one of the Miss World contestants as his wife. To Muslims, this was blasphemous, and the riots broke out in Kaduna. Churches, mosques and homes were burnt, and 200 people were killed. The next day, we heard the pageant was being cancelled. We jumped in a local taxi and sped south to the capital, Abuja.
We're here outside the Hilton Hotel. All the contestants are locked away in their rooms. The Miss World organisation's not letting them talk to anyone. It's chaos, really. All the journalists have been kicked out of the lobby.
Miss World announced the 92 beauty queens were moving to London. The contest was in disarray. Panicked, the organisers lashed out at the media.
What I'm trying to say, gentlemen, ladies of the press, quite honestly, you, not individually, but you as a collection, are to blame. You all know Miss World had nothing to do with the riot.
The beauty queens fled in the middle of the night. Many never wanted to come here in the first place. They threatened a boycott to stop the stoning of Amina Lawal, the woman we'd come to find. The next day, there wasn't a trace left of the pageant. Stella Din had been setting up the event for months.
The fact that it marred the hosting of Miss World 2002 in Nigeria has sent strong signals out to the international community that Nigeria is not a country to be taken seriously, that we do have an image problem, and if we really want to be ranked as first amongst equals, we have blown our chances.
A Christian who lives in the south, Stella told us she was outraged at Amina's sentence.
From where I come from, and in any civilized nation, you don't stone a woman. You don't even stone a man to death, let alone a woman who has a little baby.
Amina Lawal's case has put pressure on the southern government here in Abuja. They insist she will never be stoned. In this fractured country, the newly invented capital was built up from the ground only 10 years ago, created as a neutral place. But even here, religion is a strong presence. Evangelical signs are pinned on every street corner. God offers hope that the government doesn't. Abuja lies on a religious frontier. It's the last stop between the Christian south and the Muslim north. The next morning, we decided to resume our journey north to find Amina Lawal. On the way, at a local market, I got some advice from a man selling Islamic literature.
All covered. No toes. Okay, I'll cover up.
Yes, this one is no good.
Okay.
On the road north, we passed people filling their cars at jerry-rigged gas stations. Nigeria is one of the world's largest exporters of oil and a major supplier to the United States. But money from Nigeria's black gold doesn't trickle down here. The North feels alienated and disenfranchised from the decision-makers of the South. No roadblocks this time, and nothing stopped us entering Kaduna.
This side of the road is Muslim.
Yeah, yes.
This side is Christian.
This is a city divided between Christians and Muslims.
And both sides burnt.
Yeah,
Both
those
sides.
people that come here, those people that
The ones from this side went that side,
Yeah.
and the ones from that side went this side.
Kaduna is a microcosm of Nigeria's problems. These riots were just the latest wave of violence. Thousands have been killed.
We were told that about 500 young boys just went totally on the rampage. A merchant just down the street told us. Yeah, and this is the local church.
Mosques were also destroyed, their walls defaced with religious graffiti. We met a Muslim woman, Amina Ladan Baki, who said poverty was the root of the violence.
So many people who have nothing to do, frustrated, idle. And the slightest provocation, they start smashing things, cars, looting shops, It's just a situation where there was, a lot of poverty, and they had a chance to let off steam, so to speak.
Ladan Baki blames politicians for exploiting religious divisions.
The politicians mislead people. They use religion. They use different, diversity of cultures to get people to unite or disunite. To vote for me because I'm of your stock.
But underscoring the bitter conflict here is Sharia law, the Islamic legal code under which Amina Lawal was sentenced. We pressed on further north towards Amina's home. We arrived in Kano, an ancient trading post and West Africa's oldest city. In the old marketplace, Islamic culture thrives. Islam travelled to Kano over 700 years ago. Sharia has long been a way of life here, a code of conduct that encourages social welfare. For Muslims, it holds similar reverence to the 10 Commandments. But Sharia criminal law was brought back 3 years ago, after the military dictatorship toppled. Thousands of supporters celebrated in the streets of Kano. This was the North flexing its political muscle, defying the southern government, and the people hoping for an end to corruption. We went to see Naya Sada, who helped craft the new Sharia criminal law.
People saw the Sharia now as coming in to save the situation, to bring justice to them, to bring justice to their doorstep, instead of the earlier system, where there is no justice, where there is so much delay, where there are so much problems, corruptions. The hope is that this ideal will come and solve my problem. People believed so much that something will happen. Whether it is happening again now or not, this is a different thing entirely, really.
The notorious part of Sharia law is its harsh punishments. I asked Sada how he could justify stoning a woman to death.
The question of fairness is not the issue. Once you can prove adultery under Islamic law, the punishment has to follow, is stoning to death. Nobody can change that punishment.
If there are flaws in the implementation of Sharia, it is women who suffer first. We talked to Myra Bello, who counsels Muslim women on their rights.
As a Muslim, what I'm saying is that if it's good for the goose, let it be good for the gander. So if you punish the female, get the man that is responsible for that pregnancy and punish him too. It's like the whole society is watching out for the woman to go out of line for her to be punished.
Sharia law has now spread to 1/3 of the country. North of Kano is the state of Katsina. This is where Amina Lawal was born. For the first time, we saw taxis for women only. We found the courtroom where Amina Lawal's appeal was turned down. At the time, men in the audience shouted praises to God. We wanted to find the man in charge of Amina's case, the Attorney General. Ibrahim Shema has said that others will learn from Amina's mistake.
You're trying to at least find out from me what my thinking is about the rights of the woman vis-a-vis the right of a man under Sharia. Am I right?
Yeah.
And my response to that is that this thing of equal access to justice under Islamic law is as available to the woman as it is to the man. But for the woman, the fact that she has pregnancy with her is enough proof that something has happened if she is not married. I remember we are talking about a Muslim woman. There's a belief-based system here. The woman has accepted that.
I asked Shema if he thought stoning was barbaric. He chose his words carefully.
I cannot be able to comment on whether it is barbaric or not, because you remember you are asking me about something that affects my religion. So if I now come out of a position that says no, it is barbaric, then I'm going against my religious beliefs.
We tried to film on the streets of Katsina, but almost immediately we were hauled off to the Ministry of Religious Affairs and told to stop. The city walls were covered in Sharia graffiti. All we could do was film from the car. Finally, we reached Amina's village. As soon as we arrived, we were approached by the village elders. Then they asked us to leave. We found out that Amina had fled to the capital. She'd made her village famous, and they didn't seem to like it much. We headed back to find her.
Good morning, Abuja. How are you feeling? It is the beginning of a brand new day in Abuja. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the vibe. You are listening to the Good Morning Nigeria show. Brand new music on Cool.
We were back in the urban metropolis. That night, we caught the Miss World contest on television. It went off in London without a hitch. Miss Nigeria handed her crown to the new winner, Miss Turkey.
Miss Turkey!
Finally, we met Amina Lawal. She was in a safe house, and we agreed not to disclose the location. With the Miss World spotlight gone, she was no longer centre stage, but still under threat of death. Amina said she never knew women could be stoned to death under Sharia law. She seemed tired, and I asked her if she was afraid.
Dan damuwa zaka damu na mama ni ko amma kuma tunda haka Allah ya kaddara babu yanda zaka yi. To dole ne ka damu mana.
It was extraordinary to me that Amina's faith remained so firmly unshaken.
Nawa ma Allah kawai. Shine mai rayawa. Shi ke zartar da hukuncinsa kuma. Yasa in cika da imani da kalmar shahada.
Amina's lawyer, Hawa Ibrahim, was also raised Muslim in a small northern village. This trial has brought them close together. Hawa is defending several women sentenced for adultery.
We're afraid that when it comes to the issue of death, the moment you stone the first woman, there may be no stopping of it. And I cannot live with that.
If Amina's appeals are denied, she will be killed as soon as she weans her baby. She will be buried up to her neck and a crowd will be asked to throw stones. But Amina told me her biggest concern is for her child's safety. And before I left, she gave me her blessing.
Allah ya baki.
God give you if you want. Baki da wani sha'awa.
There's more of the world to explore on our website. Discuss the world and tell us what you think of our stories from a small planet at pbs.org.